Okay, so welcome everybody. We're back into the second part of this podcast with Socitm. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at tech trends, AI, and professional development. So if we get straight into that, I know that you've published in your 2025 key digital and technology trends. Do you have any idea as to what those trends are going to be when you publish them for 2026? AI, data, cybersecurity, whatever the themes would be.
Yeah, I do. And before I come on to that, I'm really excited about our digital trends. It's our stellar report. As you rightly say, it was a great addition to our resources in 2025. But this year, or next year rather, in January, when we launch 2026, is the special 40th anniversary digital trends edition,
Okay.
marking obviously our 40th year. So why is it a special edition? Well, this edition will be dedicated to lessons that you can apply, people you can call, and ideas that are already working. We want to make this as practical as possible. So while we're looking at a blend of a looking back and a leap forward, we're reflecting on 40 years of people power change, and that is really charting the path. And it's a big theme for us, from legacy to leadership in the public sector. So we're looking at weaving together that historical view, a perspective, members' stories, and outlook on what's next. And this report really honours the legacy that while we're setting a bold direction for the future, it's a real milestone for us. So in terms of some of the detail, there's going to be three areas that our research will focus on. And I must say that has been qualified and supported by our members, because this is what they've told us. These are the things that matter. These are the things that are important to us. So we'll develop a series of articles that deep dive into each of the areas, and they will be artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data, ways of work, and digital inclusion. And they will be rolled out throughout 2026. And each of those trends, we'll have a focus on them, and we'll do some roundtables. We'll invite people into experts to do some sector-led work and challenges. So as you can see, a lot planned, really exciting stuff, and it really should be I'm sure, our very best digital trends report that we've ever produced.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. So I'm hearing that the AI, data, cybersecurity, service redesign, and inclusivity, really interesting. And Dave, do you have anything to add into that in terms of the theme of tech trends, AI, and professional development?
Yeah, so I think these are becoming extremely common, Daniel, in terms of the conversations that are happening across the locations. And I think we alluded to it previously, that the technology is evolving at such a rapid pace, and trying to capture that. But I think that in terms of how we can do and demonstrate and echoing around the digital trends, I don't think there's something there that our members nor the colleagues that read it are not expecting in there. But I think it's also how we can use these in the local areas. So those questions, those public sector key questions for the leaders, we've been able to turn that into workshops. We've been able to turn that into areas where, again, we're bringing that sharing, we're bringing that learning together, and we're getting inputs from a variety of individuals and organisations. And again, there's been a number of our members that have then taken that and have actually fed this back internally, and have added real value in there. So, it's a big piece of that research area. And it's something that is always ongoing because of the evolution of technology, and the trends. AI, as we know, we've touched on that. AI has been around for a considerable number of years. It's only starting to then come to light a lot more now in terms of what can be done with it, who's utilising it. But AI has always been there. It's just, has it been there as a highlighted focus, whereas it is now?
I completely agree. I mean, AI is bringing real opportunities and real shift in delivery. But the bit that I think that people are missing is there's an awful lot of anxiety as to what will be the impact of AI. I have that in my own team. So we work with coders and developers who are seeing, applications which are spinning up within minutes, which would otherwise have taken weeks and months, if not to build. I personally am not anxious about it because I think it ultimately it'll be a friend if used in the right way and deployed in the right way. But I think we miss a trick if we don't acknowledge that it's not just technology. People have got emotional feelings about this technology and the impact that it might have on them. And I think we do ourselves a disservice not to recognize those anxieties, address them, and I think then we're able to harness the technologies and take them forward. It's not about the technology, it's always about the people. The technology is serving people, not the other way around, would be my view. But just on that, on the AI in local government, we might as well go there, because I think it's such a big theme at the moment. As you say, it's been around for years, but the full impact is just beginning to kick in now. But what would you see would be the opportunities and the current real world applications, and perhaps the lessons that we're beginning to learn from the application of AI within local government, both for and against?
Go on, David. I'll let you come in on this one first. If you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that the first thing is that we're all in different places, very, very different places. And this is an important point, Daniel, because what we're seeing is that people are feeling like they need to do something but don't know where to start. Some people are much more advanced, and others are kind of just sort of not doing anything and feeling a little bit left behind. There's no need to go it alone, is the first thing I'd say. There are plenty of good examples where best practice has shown to have a positive effect, where that's freeing up frontline staff to do things that are more important than routine burden admin. And Derby City Council are a good one that we highlight in and we've had speak at our events to really good effect to show what they're doing. But the first thing that I see is that it starts with governance, and the outcome-based approach. What is it we're trying to achieve, and where can we have effect? And thinking about that like you would do in any other change program, the need, the outcome, and having that that grounding and rationale and business case, if you like, in old money, as to why we're looking at bringing in a new piece of technology or change.
And Dave, do you have anything that you would add to that in terms of the pros and the cons of current implementations or applications of AI within local government? Or do you think that we're just at the very beginning of that journey, and the process of how we implement it is part of the picture?
So it's interesting, and obviously given the opportunity I've got and the number of organisations I speak to, to exactly to David's point, everyone's at a different element on this journey. We've just highlighted Derby there, for example, on what they're doing. I think this also comes back to that embracing the change of it, Daniel, as well. Yeah. Because it's very easy, not just in public sector, across any sector, to be fair, to put barriers, to create barriers for change. But this is where it also comes to the cultural side of it that we touched on earlier, is that there's a number of individuals and organisations that will be using AI, whether or not the policy is to state we do use it, we don't use it, because a number of individuals will be using it within their home environment, regardless of taking it into the professional environment. I think it's about, there is challenges and benefits, pros and cons across absolutely anything to do with technology, let's be fair. But I think it's about looking to how we can embrace those challenges, because those challenges can actually, they can reap the rewards if done correct. And I would say that if, it's got to be done correctly, because one of the key areas around AI is the fear of that security around that, and how can we do that? So I think it's the positive move with AI has also helped highlight or address other potential challenging areas around technology, around legacy, on that basis. I think it's looking to how it can be embraced and how it can be used to achieve better outcomes. You know, we've worked with partners down that route, and we've seen it across social care, Daniel, and a number of areas where it's actually freeing up. It's allowing people to therefore then, you know, focus more on the specifics than actually, you know, the tasks thereafter, and therefore it's freeing up resource in terms of that.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at it on that side.
We had a practical application of that where councils were using ChatGPT and Copilot in order to try and create minutes of the meeting, of various meetings. And one of the things that was happening is it was hallucinating. So AI doesn't know the difference between Birmingham, UK and Birmingham, Alabama. So what we did is built an AI minute maker, which simply it's not permitted to touch the internet, and it can only reference the audio file. So what that meant is that the minutes, which will never ever be done by AI, you will never replace a quality human minuter, because there's an art to creating minutes. But what you can do is strip out 80% of the work. And what we found was councils were using it, but they were having these problems, and that actually gave us an indication as to where was the solution. The solution was, don't allow it to touch the internet, and then you can have some assurance that the minutes that you're actually creating are factually correct, because they can only reference those facts. But that was an implication of going backwards and forwards with a number of councils who are our innovation partners in order to get an outcome which actually doesn't remove the minute maker or the administrator. It just frees up some of their time to do other things. And in our world, democratic service officers, for example, since COVID have found their workload to increase and increase and increase. And what AI is beginning to do, if implemented correctly, as you've just described, Dave, is it starts to give them some of their time back. But it doesn't replace them in any way, shape or form. It means that they can do more, and they have a broader opportunity to impact in their own particular world. Brilliant.
Exactly that. It's not about replacing. Definitely.
No, I think Daniel as well. This goes back to saying, you know, in terms of business case, realising the service benefits. So this isn't about just efficiency. It's about fairness, you know, explainable decision making, you know, underpinning trust in terms of what we're doing. And I think for us, and this is important because from a neutral and independent advice, this comes from the floor, this comes from the sector. In the facilitation workshops that we've had with over 40 affected councils in local government reorganisation, from a digital perspective and AI particularly, we bring the four elements together and it can have real positive impacts. That's digital, seen as a value driver.
Yeah.
Digitally literal boards, so you know the top tier, understanding the possibilities. Tech leaders at the top table, and workforce-led innovation, and that, you know, those four elements come together, then really good things can happen.
Wow. So just taking that a bit further and maybe coming a little bit away from AI, although it's obviously interrelated. So harnessing data for service delivery. So the role of Socitm in terms of harnessing data for service delivery, how does that fit in? My understanding is that's actually a key plank of the services and the offer that you bring forward. Would you be willing? Who would be the right person to perhaps comment on that?
I think it'd be in your area, David, more in terms of the policy and the research.
Yeah, I think to support that, we mentioned earlier we've got AI at Socitm, we've got data at Socitm to be launched, and that's going to be an important resource. I think one of the things that we've seen, Daniel, across the sector is there's a lack of consistency around data, and data underpins everything and the decisions that are made. And it's coming to focus now in terms of the workshops that we facilitated around local government reorganisation, in thinking about what data is needed, who can share the complete picture, where this stuff sits, and actually challenging some of the assumptions around what we can and can't do. To ultimately, we're looking to make decisions which improve people's outcomes, and that is channeled through data. And as we know, the sector has, you know, a phenomenally rich set and picture of data and people, but it's not organised in terms of, and I think I wouldn't pinpoint any particular organisation, but the trusted feedback of the safe space, you know, acknowledges the sector is not so great, and we probably the expectations of our communities is higher than probably what we're able to deliver.
Well, in our world, we have that in terms of people knowing the difference between holding data, processing data, creating data, and what's the GDPR rules around that. So, we as an organization have had to go into the nuances of, are we a data processor, a data handler? Do we create data? Do we store data? What data do we store? Really important. But then also, just recognizing that data is an asset of a local authority, and that asset has a huge journey to travel, and we scratch the surface in terms of how we can use that data. And one of the things about AI is AI will begin to process data in ways that I think will give back to local government, local authorities in the fullness of time. We're not quite there yet, but we will be getting there. And in terms of cybersecurity, how does Socitm support the upskilling and the resilience of local councils with regards to cyber essentials and cybersecurity, particularly because it's come onto the radar that local governments, like organisations, JLR, etc., they've been targeted. It's only a matter of time before local authorities are also targeted in some way, shape, or form, or third-party suppliers to local government. So, for example, in our scenario, we make sure that our systems are all on a private land segment, so they are not touching the corporate network, and we have our own ring fences around there. So they're the things that we've had to think about as an organisation. But from Socitm's point of view, supporting departments and local authorities and agencies around cybersecurity, what support do you offer or can offer them?
I think this is where it comes with working, Daniel, with the warning, advice and reporting points, the WARPs. They are operated and chaired totally outside of Socitm and independently, and they get the links in from the National Cybersecurity Centre. So a number of years ago, the Cyber Technical Advisory Group was formed out of Socitm, and is still there. And we encourage those that are WARP chairs, vice chairs, to be a part of that group, to attend that group. And as I said, then there's links in with the National Cybersecurity Centre on terms of that. In terms of that supporting angle from us, is that we reference and plug them to their regional WARP if they are not already linked in some way, shape or form. Anyway, in terms of that, and there is a number of guidance, NCSC guidance and others that organisations follow and so on anyway. But then there's also the cyber at Socitm piece is where that shop window for any other further support, any blogs. We've got representatives that work alongside us that will put out blogs, that will work closely with us to share information that's vitally important, not just to our members, but to wider public in terms of that, and then therefore can be linked into the cyber at Socitm. One thing we've got to be careful of in terms of that is there is other organisations out there that this is their fully their expertise, solely their remit. So again, it's where we can help plug any gaps, where we can help pinpoint the information. People can go and navigate it, exactly that. And where people can go and navigate it, it's not about do this, don't do that, and so on there. There is about all of those basics, but then all of the guidance that then comes from the cybersecurity centres and the like. We will be a part of and support in terms of any events, any external events. We've supported events across and over the years in a number of areas. And we've worked very closely with other organisations such as the Information Security for London, that leads in terms of the WARPs down in the southeast area as well. So it's working and looking at where we can align and making sure our members are aware of it, which is where then it comes into that engagement. And
so that's what I'm hearing is engagement and dialogue, and whatever then is needed. So it's a collaboration. Just moving on a little in terms of, I mean, my experience with local government is there's always a number of people who are just tech savvy, or that seems to be their thing, that they quite like the technology. But in terms of talent development and change agents, so fostering the next generation of digital leaders and inclusive workplaces, how does Socitm support those future leaders, really, existing and those who want to develop their skills in terms of digital for local government? I know you have a number of webinars and trainings.
Yeah, we do have we have a lot of that. I mean, last week we just had everything from we had a mentoring webinar. So we've got a mentoring program where we try and take people up to the next level, and that's been really helpful for our alumni that have been through our courses. So we mentioned earlier we've got leadership academy courses, top talent, empowering women, and that is to address the lack of women in IT still at the moment, and various other things that we can do specifically for teams. But I think as well, to expand on that, we do know the sector is it struggles for the pipeline and recruitment in general. We try to support that by making people aware of the possibilities of a career in IT within local government and everything that you get involved in by doing that. Because it is about unlocking talent as well, and that frontline sort of entry level often has the best solutions because they're the people that are working with systems that don't particularly work well together and making do, and have the hold the those golden nuggets that we try to talk about as we go through some of our training courses, and our leadership development and program manager Aidan Matthews, who runs these, is absolutely phenomenal in terms of what he delivers, and the continued conversation, Daniel, that we want to have. So once you've been in a Socitm course, that's not the end of it. It's the start of it. As you join our alumni and are involved in and invited to all the events and the collaboration and the network that you get by being part of this society.
Brilliant. So just to draw things to a close, and hopefully we'll have other opportunities to look at specific pieces of work that Socitm is involved in. But if I'm a listener of this podcast, how could I get involved with Socitm? What would be my next step? I'll say, okay, this sounds really interesting. It sounds like me and I want to get involved. What do I do and where do I go?
The first step, go and have a look at socitm.net. Go and have a quick look at what we do. Go and have a look at our socials. Socitm on LinkedIn, you'll find us there, and on X, and you'll see some of the things that we offer. There's plenty of resources that are open to all, that aren't behind a paywall. Yes, there are the more detailed bespoke pieces that our members pay for, but that will give you a really good grounding of what we do, who we are, the faces behind the team, how we operate, what we stand for, and
the benefits,
where to go next within your area. I mean, Dave, do you want to just expand on that?
Yeah, and I encourage everyone to visit the Socitm.net definitely. And when you're going on the team, you've got access there to the wider trustees. You've got access there to David, to myself, to other team and other colleagues. And you can email us directly. We're very, we want that interaction.
Yeah.
And there's so many conversations that we've had both with individuals, and with organisations, the senior leadership team. How, whether it's an in-person, virtual meeting, just going through, demonstrating the benefits, but helping organisations to align them to their areas, to their plans, to their strategies, and not just one size fits all on that basis. So it is about that dialogue. And as with everything, the more you put in, the more you get out. Mm-hmm. So it's working closely with us in terms of that. But reach out to us directly. We're constantly in contact with individuals, with organisations, how we can help them get the most out of the Socitm membership. But more importantly, helping them and organisations get the most out of Socitm, so they can go away and actually ask, why are we not part of this organisation? Why are we not involved? And to demonstrate the importance of what we deliver in sector.
Great. So that was a very brief introduction, a two-part series introduction to the work of Socitm. And I hope that you see that they are a resource. They're a resource for you, and they are very approachable and contactable, and they want your involvement, and they exist specifically for you. So reach out, visit the website, and become a member. Okay, so we'll leave it there. So Dave, if I can just thank you, and Dave and David, thank you very much, and maybe we'll see you again on a further podcast a bit further down the line. All the best to you.
Look forward to it.
And
Thanks,
thank
Daniel.
you everybody for viewing.
Thank you.
Great, thanks guys. So